we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, any of you who follow the big tech tubers like Linus, Kyle, Jay will see that Jay recently did a video on some cheap fans that he found on Amazon. So I thought I'll get them and I'll have a look at them myself. So today we're going to do another look at these cheap RGB fans from Amazon. Now I think Jay said when he looked at them they were like $36 or $37 on Amazon US. On Amazon UK they're actually $31.95 for the pack of 6. Pack of 6 RGB fans. So before we open it up, obviously I'll just re-go over the highlights that Jay pointed out. The fact that these aren't ARGB, they have their own standalone controller for the RGB and fan speed. So these can't link onto any motherboard, can't be controlled by software. It is all standalone, separate to anything else within your system. So yeah, we'll open the box up and then we'll have another look at the fans and go through some of the features on the remote that I don't believe Jay covered, but you know, they're little things. You know, I mean, he covered basically things like fan speed and stuff like that, so, and airflow. So obviously in the box we have, as Jay said, the rubber adapters to go into the corners of the fans. Now you get six sheets of these. Each sheet has got 4 pieces per side to put on each side of the fan for anti-vibration, so you get very little fan vibration noise when you've got these mounted in a case. So you get 6 sheets of those, and like I say, 1 per fan because there are 6 in the box. You get 6 packs of 4 little black fan screws. So we've got 1 pack for each fan. Get the one out of there. Obviously the fans themselves, you'll have seen these on Jay's. I'll put a link to his video in the description below so that you can go and have a look at what he showed you about the fans, etc., and how they work, and the description of the bearing type and stuff like that. I totally agree with him. The cages do feel a bit flimsy. There is a tiny little bit of flex in them compared to something, say, like a Corsair, or even the basic standard NZXT case fans that come in their cases. They seem to have slightly stronger, more rigid cages. But you know, for something that's eventually just going to be screwed in your case and not going to move, and like I say, it's going to have the rubber adapters on the corners for stopping vibration, it's perfectly adequate. So you've got 6 of those in the box. In the adaptions box we do have, as Jay said, we have the fan controller hub, which will take up to 10 fans. Now, as he said, there are additional empty ports around the edge at this end where it may be if there's a different PCB inside the unit. I mean, these empty ports are labelled actually ARGB 1 through to ARGB 6, so potentially there is an option for ARGB within a case like this as well. It has peel off sticky on the back, so you can stick it to the inside of the back of your case. This one has actually got the plug-in stepper, which you can actually, if you've got a reset button on your case, like what Jay said, you can actually swap the button on the reset case if you don't want to use a reset, and swap it out for this one, so you can actually use your reset button on your case to advance through the modes of the RGB. And then obviously you've got your SATA power connector. That's all this thing requires. All the fans, both for fan power and RGB, operate through that one SATA power connector. That's what I meant when I said it's a standalone unit. It does not connect to any RGB headers on your motherboard and cannot be controlled by RGB software within Windows. So that's the unit. Now, I actually had this out earlier on today. I was messing around with it. I've put the comes with a little pull-out tab in the back of the remote to stop the battery draining while it's in storage. So on the remote we have the on and the off and an auto button. we've got all the usual pre-selection of different colours that you can have the fans on, but we also have 6 buttons across the middle there. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up. The first 2 are S plus and S minus. Now these fans, I believe, have a max fan speed of 1170 RPM plus or minus 10%, but you can actually reduce that fan speed down to about 800 RPM, I do believe. You have M plus and M minus, so mode plus and mode minus to scan through the modes of the RGB, of which there are quite a substantial amount. And then you have brightness up and down, so you can actually, in a dark room late at night, and you don't want your fans glaring out all that RGB, you can actually turn the brightness down, or you can actually turn the RGB off. You can turn the fans off completely. They won't spin if you put it in the off position, so you actually remove all your airflow. It actually turns the fan off completely, not just the RGB. So yeah. So that's the remote control. So like Jay said, you know, if you're stepping through using the button and you go, oh, I wanted that one before, you can go back to your remote and press M minus and step back 1 step in the mode routine and go back to the previous mode, i.e. the one you want. The remote uses a CR2025 battery, you know, your bulk standard coin cell battery, 3-volt battery. So, and I should imagine on something like this, they're probably going to last a couple of years if you're not using it, if at all. You know, you might just set the fans to how you want it and leave it and never use the remote again. But that's what you get in the box. And like I say, $31.95 I do believe these were. I'll put a link to the Amazon listing below in the description, and that'll be the Amazon UK listing, not the Amazon US listing. So for those in the US, because I'm going to put a link to Jay's video in the description below, you can follow his link from his video to the US listing. So that's it for now. What I'm going to do something that Jay didn't do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put these fans into a couple of different cases just to see how they look when they're in a case and they're lit up. One of them has got some tinted panels. That'll be the Sigmatech Scorpio, which was one of the very first cases I ever reviewed. I've actually still got the case. And the other one will be in an NZXT H500, which has a clear glass side panel. So we'll get a look at how the 2 different cases will look with these same fans in. Obviously, bearing in mind the Sigmatech has tinted panels, so it's going to dull down the brightness coming out of the fans. But we'll put those in the cases, see how they look. I've got a power supply. I do have a little jumper on it, so I don't have to physically put a motherboard in. I can basically just have that. I've got my SATA power connector to connect up to the control panel, and then from that I can just set the fans going. I don't actually physically have to have a motherboard installed. So we'll see you on the other side when I've got the fans into the first case, which is going to be the Sigmatech Scorpio. And we're back. Okay, so I've now got 4 fans in here. I've got 2 in the front, 1 in the rear and 1 in the top. Now the one in the top may not show up too well on camera because I have to do this alone. I haven't got a cameraman to come in and get an underside shot of the inside of the case. So basically all you're really going to see on this is the effect coming through the side panel of the back and the effect coming through the front panel of the fans in the front. What I have done is I've actually left the trigger switch coming out the back of the I/O port of the case, and I've just got the controller box just sitting on top of the PSU shroud inside the case itself, because what we're really after today is how the fans look when they're lit up inside a case. So we'll switch it on and see what happens. So this is obviously a sweep. There we go. So we've got different sweeps on different colours, and then we've got solid colours. And and then we have rainbow. So believe me, there is one in the top. Now the actual airflow on these doesn't feel too bad coming out of the case. Obviously it's a bit freed off because there's nothing else in the case blocking off exits of the case. There's no motherboard in there with the I/O panel blocking that. There's no graphics card in there blocking the exit through the PCIe slots of the case. But yeah, I mean, even airflow through the dust filter feels fairly okay. Obviously, I'm not using the remote, so I can't see if this is at maximum airflow without getting the remote out and checking it. But yeah, so we also have things like this. So it sweeps on, sweeps off, and again, that's going to go through all the static colours. So green, blue, yellow, purple, teal, white. I think that was. Green, and then you've got sweep through. So yeah, lots of different effects on the fans. Obviously, when I do the other case, I'm not going to go through all the different effects. What I will do is I'll get this back to the rainbow, so that it's ready to go on rainbow when we put it in the other case. So because that gives us more of the effect. Right, so there's our rainbow, or as I say, rainbow puke. Right, so I'll switch over and we'll switch to the NZXT H500, which, like I said, has a clear glass. I mean, this doesn't come out too bad considering it's a tinted panel and it is acrylic. So yeah, the actual light output isn't too bad. You know, it's acceptable. If you were putting these, I mean, what effectively are really cheap fans. I mean, at $31.95 for a pack of 6 and the controller, effectively puts these fans at probably £3 or £4 a piece. Because your controller's probably worth as much, if not more, than one of the fans. So even if you were to divide the total value by 7 and make the fans equal value to the controller, that's an absolute steal. And like I say, the airflow is pretty good. Like Jay said, they're pretty much just airflow. You wouldn't get much static pressure off of these if you were running them through a radiator. What I would say is, because if you had, say, a Hyper 212 Evo, which uses a 120mm fan, if you were using one of those and it came with an ARGB fan, it might be, because this is a case that only uses 4 fans and it's a pack of 6, you could swap out the ARGB fan that came on that, ramp the fans up to full speed, put one of these onto the Hyper 212, and you'd actually have matching 120mm RGB fans all throughout your entire case, and you still have one left over for whatever you wanted to do. But like I say, in the meantime, we'll get this shut down and we will switch over to the NZXT. So see you in a minute. Okay, so here we have it. I've now got 2 fans in the front, one in the rear, one in the top again. But again, like before, you're not really going to be able to see the effect of that one. Now I've had to turn the case round more to the rear because obviously the H500 has a solid fronted case, so the RGB off the front fans is more for internal illumination rather than external. So, and I've had to turn off my studio lights because I was getting glare off the glass. So we're now going to switch this one on and see how the fans look on here. Again, I've left the controller button hanging out the back, so I might just flick through a couple of modes and see how it looks. You can actually see the RGB fan in the top there. And it does look good because they're all running off the same controller. They've got the same pattern running, so they're sequenced together. Let's just flick through some of these. There we go. So yeah, we've got some nice fans there. And like I say, really cheap. Sub £35 for a controller with a remote and 6 RGB fans. which, like I say, have got an adjustable speed. I think from the Gumph, I think they said it was like 1180 RPM was the top speed. I think it dropped down to somewhere around about 8 or 850 at the lowest speed of the fans. So if you were using a fifth fan, say on a case like this, which only takes 4 fans, and you were using a fifth fan on, say, a tower cooler, you would need to keep the fans ramped up to keep the cooling going for your CPU, especially if it was a high-end, you know, like a high-end 10 series Intel, or a high-end Ryzen 5000, like a 5950X or something like that. You would definitely want to keep the fans ramped fully up. But other than that, if it was just for case cooling, and you were using, say, a water cooler for your CPU, these are an ideal addition to any cheap case to add a bit of bling. I wish I'd known about these sooner, but hey ho, you come across things. So yeah, all in all, not a bad buy. So there we have it, folks. The UPHERE RGB fans with controller. $31.95 off of Amazon UK. I think Jay said they were $36 on Amazon US, but I'll put a link in to his video in the description below, and I'll put a link to the Amazon UK page for these in the description below as well. There will be a link in the description below to my website where you can contact me if you're interested in the merch, either the t-shirts, which if you watched my other video where I had the announcement, there are more colours than just white. Or if you want one of my mugs, I am looking to expand the merch line, so if there's anything you think could be a good product, please put it in the comments below. I do read all my comments on a regular basis, so you know, if I don't answer straight away, there will be an answer put on, or at the very least it will be read. So once again, thanks for watching. This has actually been quite an interesting video to make. It's the first time I've ever done fans as a product review. There will be another case review coming soon. It's not actually a new case, it's actually a case that's obsolete, but they are a very good case if you can get hold of them for making things like servers. Yes. So stay tuned, come back for that one. As always, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you in the next one.